Oh, you're doing that?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, I thought we were doing class. Oh, good. I broke a sweat for nothing.
And I know we'll make this quick. I know you got a lot to do.
Awesome, thank you.
First of all, just welcome to the Treasure Coast.
It's great to be back up here. Thank you.
Absolutely. We know that this is actually exciting for a lot of people on the Treasure Coast because this is the first election stop for any presidential campaign on the Treasure Coast for this whole election cycle. Do you just want to talk about why you wanted to be in Indian River County so close to Election Day?
Well, listen, it's important. You see the crowd that you get. I mean, these are people that are excited that you have a president that's finally fighting for America. Not fighting for his son's interests like you see Joe Biden with China and the millions of dollars. I mean, someone who didn't need this job, stepping in and getting things done. Whether it's creating the strongest economy America's ever known, whether it's creating the lowest unemployment numbers we've ever seen for every demographic of Americans, the highest number of new startup businesses, as I mentioned in the speech, and you can see how people are so excited, pulling out of endless wars, getting us out of Afghanistan that our own generals can't tell us why we're actually still there. And then obviously you got Middle East peace. So, Donald Trump made a bunch of promises in 2016, and if you were skeptical back then of whether he could get it done, I understand that. We're used to our politicians telling us all the things they're going to do, and they usually don't do any of them. Joe Biden's been doing that for 47 years. He's made a career of it. But Donald Trump said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to build the economy, I'm going to pull us out of wars, I'm going to get stuff done in the Middle East. I mean, then he did a bunch of stuff that wasn't even on the record, like prison reform and opportunity zones. But they're excited to see someone who's willing to fight for them. And you can see that from the energy in the crowd, which is awesome.
Indian River County today, you were in West Palm a couple of weeks ago. How are you guys feeling about Florida as a whole? What's kind of your strategy for the next 5 days to try to secure Florida?
Well, we just got to be everywhere. I mean, I guess the biggest thing we have is we don't have a mainstream media or social media that's willing to campaign for us while we hide in a basement in Delaware. Joe Biden has that. He doesn't have to be. He called a lid 10 days left in an election. I mean, I've never heard of anything like this. But I guess he just figures they'll do the work for him. They'll cover up the corruption that's coming out. They won't talk about literally a naval intelligence officer that's a Democrat that was partners with Hunter saying, yeah, Joe knew. He knew all too well. They won't even cover it. I mean, it's disgusting. That's sort of what we are up against when you have social media suppressing that, Facebook saying, well, we're just not going to link to those articles. They're not saying they're not true. They didn't go through a fact check process. They just know it would hurt the Democrats, and they've decided they're going to be on the team of the Democrats. So we have to bring that message directly to the people. And so I think it resonated pretty well based on what I saw out there.
Yeah, how important is Florida?
It's incredibly important. Obviously, for Republicans, it's a must win. And again, you can see that the Democrats, that's why Michael Bloomberg is spending $100 million running these ridiculous TV ads, about, Trump and Joe Biden. Again, if Joe Biden could have done anything, he would have done it by now. It's been half a century, right? Name a single Joe Biden accomplishment if you're on the fence and you're not sure. If you can't name one, isn't that sort of part of the problem? Isn't that what everyone hates about D.C.?
Election security, of course, top of mind for everybody, nationwide and, of course, in Florida. What's the Trump campaign stance on election security in Florida?
We want a fair election. We want to make sure that we have people watching it. We don't want to see the games that we're seeing being played elsewhere, where ballots, all absentee ballots from the military, they're in a ditch because they know it's going to be for Donald Trump. You see the Democrats pushing today. They don't want the signature on an absentee ballot to have to match the signature on file of that registered voter. Give me one reason why that wouldn't be, unless you're trying to cheat. So we want safe and secure elections. You've seen, Florida's had its own issues with these things as well. The Democrats seem to specialize in that. We just want a fair election. That's what we want, and we're going to have people watching. You see, so many people with sort of video cameras, just making sure that if someone's playing games and they get caught, they actually get penalized for doing what we all know to be illegal, but the Democrats seem to try to ignore all that. So we just have a lot of people poll watching. We have that kind of security all over the country. And again, I hope that people are penalized if they're caught cheating.
Tax is always the top issue that brings people to the polls. Do you want to compare the Biden versus the Trump campaigns, how taxes moving forward would impact people, especially during a pandemic?
Yeah, 100%. Joe Biden said he would eliminate the Trump tax cuts on day one. The average American family, I think 85% of Americans got almost a $2,000 benefit from Donald Trump's tax plan. So that's gone off the table right off the bat. He then says he's going to be $4 trillion spent to give free education to illegals, free health care for illegals, free lawyers for illegals as they open up the borders. Who's that going to hurt most? Hardworking, struggling families, some of the lowest income earners, those people are going to get crushed with those policies. It's going to destroy small business and big business alike, which is going to force people to lay off. These policies don't make sense. They haven't worked. Remember, when Donald Trump came in 2016, he said, I'm going to do this for the economy, I'm going to do that. And Obama said, there's no magic wand for that, Donald. You remember that famous saying? And the New York Times came in and said, no, he's right. That 2% stagnant growth that's the new normal. Well, Donald Trump almost doubled it. There was a magic wand for it. Obama and Biden and these bureaucrat lifetime politicians just didn't have it because they've never had to do it in the real world. They've never had people's livelihoods dependent on their success running a business. I will say they've only signed the back of a paycheck. They've never signed the front of it. That's why Donald Trump came in and all of a sudden, guess what? Abracadabra. There was a magic wand, but you needed that real experience. So the guy that built the strongest economy America has ever seen is the guy that can do it again. But since we don't have the advantage of a mainstream media complex that will literally just shill for us, social media that will literally cover up for the Biden family's corruption and crime, millions of dollars. I mean, you heard me out there. I mean, imagine it was Don Jr. Imagine I was accused of doing the things that Hunter Biden, I'd be in jail right now. Right? I did 30 hours of testimony because they accused me of doing a tiny fraction of what Hunter Biden was actually doing. Turns out it was all a lie, but it didn't stop them from investigating me for 4 years. Right? So, I mean, that's what we're up against, and that's why I got to be there talking to the people. They have to understand what's at stake. You see the censorship. Our First Amendment's on the line this election. I never would have thought I'm saying that in America. I mean, it feels like we're in communist China, but we basically are. And if big tech has that control with the Democrats in their pocket, you'll never have your free speech again. So it's important. People can't sit it out. They just have to get in the game.
States like Illinois are scaling back on some of their reopening plans. There's concerns about coronavirus having a second wind, so to speak. And the stock market today taking a big hit, some fear over the resurgence of the coronavirus. Do you think that's going to hurt your momentum, or how?
No, I don't think so, because I see that happening in the Democrat states. Look at Florida, for example. We have a Republican governor that said, "Hey, we got to be reasonable. We can shut down certain things. We take some precautions, but we're not going to shut down. Don't send your kids to school for 5 years." That's Joe Biden. Well, let's just lock down the country forever, because they don't care. If you lose your job, and then if you lose your home and perhaps your marriage and your family, they got a government program for you. Don't worry, you'll be a Democrat voter for life. You can be responsible without shutting everything down. So look at the difference just in the performance. The blue states that shut down everything, all these Democrat states, they shut down everything, they destroyed their economy, and guess what? Their transmission rates were through the roof. Here, you said, hey, we expect you to exercise responsibility. If you're elderly, if you have pre-existing conditions, by all means, take extra precaution. But you didn't have to shut down your lives. I mean, the fallout and the damage that they will do from people losing their jobs, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, from just not knowing because of this thing, it's going to be far worse than anything the virus could ever do. And again, when they talk about the statistics, they only talk about the ones that look bad. They say, well, the new cases are up through the roof. Well, is that because they're testing 100 times more than they were last month? So you're testing more, so you're catching it. I mean, my girlfriend had it. We would have never known had we not been tested that she had it. Meaning, we didn't change a step. I couldn't even get it. I almost tried just so I could have the antibodies and be done with it. But so when you test a lot, those numbers. But if you look at, I put it up on my Instagram account. Go check it out, because I literally did the graph from the CDC. I just plugged it into an Excel spreadsheet and made a graph. The death rate's at almost nothing. Right? So that's the one that people should be. If that was going through the roof, you look at America's performance relative to Europe, we're doing so much better because we got ahead of these things early. Joe Biden's plan was what? Keep the border from Wuhan, from China, from the epicenter of a deadly disease. It was keep it open and bring those people to America because it was racist and xenophobic to shut it down. At what other point in history would that just not be common sense to shut down travel from the epicenter of a viral outbreak? That's the difference between an all-talk, no-action politician like 50-year career Joe and Donald Trump, who's actually getting things done.
I appreciate it. Anything else you want to say to Florida voters?
Get out there and vote. Don't take it for granted. Don't assume someone else is going to do it. When you have what's going on, the stymieing of free speech, that sort of censorship going on, fight against that because it's worth fighting for. Our kids, our freedoms, and all those things are worth fighting for. We're not going to win just by sitting back.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you so
I really
much.
appreciate it. Pleasure to meet you.